What's going on? Welcome back to Jiu-Jitsu Outlet. In case you haven't heard, Elon Musk is going to be fighting Mark Zuckerberg in the UFC. It's a classic alien versus robot. We're going to be talking about it right here today on the show. A lot of people are kind of confused about this, and some folks, including my wife, actually thought that it was a joke. And it's really interesting, the perception that this has had, because it's immediately become this gigantic story, and people like Dana White are calling it the biggest fight in history. Now, of course, Dana White is potentially going to be promoting the fight and hosting it, so obviously he's trying to hype it up as much as possible. But what are the ramifications of this? Why is this important? Why am I talking about it today? And why should you care about this? I don't know how long you've been training. I've been training jiu-jitsu for about 12 years, and ever since I started, I've been hearing that there's no money in jiu-jitsu, and that jiu-jitsu people are broke, and this is just a thing, and that you can't make money doing jiu-jitsu, and no one really important ever does jiu-jitsu or anything like that. Like, that was the rhetoric that used to be. Even up until just a couple years ago, you were still hearing this kind of myth that there's no money involved in jiu-jitsu, and that for some reason every single person in jiu-jitsu is broke. Like, somehow the two things go hand in hand. This is something that I've been thinking about and talking about a lot, is that that's no longer the case. We see a lot of really successful people these days starting jiu-jitsu, whether it's entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and now, for example, we see two of the wealthiest people in the world are training in the martial arts. Mark Zuckerberg, I don't know if he's a blue belt, but he seems like he's pretty close to becoming a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. I know that he just did a bunch of tournaments. And Elon, I don't know how long he's been training for, but what I'm saying is it appears like I saw a photo of him wearing a gi, so it appears that he's training in jiu-jitsu, so it's really cool that now inside of the jiu-jitsu hemisphere, we have some of the wealthiest people in the world inside of this international fraternity that jiu-jitsu kind of is. Any of the people out there who still believe that there's no money in jiu-jitsu, or that this sport is going nowhere, or that it's not something that's going to have the potential to take over the whole world in a good way, then, well, here you have it. Some of the most successful people in the world, some of the most innovative thinkers of the modern time, really, are not only training in jiu-jitsu, but they're like putting their whole reputation behind jiu-jitsu. That's big. That's big. That stuff like that was not happening when I first started training just a couple of years ago. I'm gonna go on a little walk down our trail. So that's really the first thing that I wanted to highlight, is that these guys are bringing a lot of money to the sport just by themselves entering. They're going to be bringing a lot of eyes to this sport, and this is something that we should all be celebrating and getting behind. Speaking of money, if you want to save money, you can go to JiuJitsuOutlet.com. We're having a summer sale on tank tops like this one, the White Belt Victim Support Group tank top. You can get them for buy one, get one free. So basically $15 a pop. So if you want to support the channel and you really like what we're doing and you want to rock some new threads for the summer and cool off, go to JiuJitsuOutlet.com. Also, more importantly, this is going to bring a ton more eyes to the sport. We're going to get a lot more people training jiu-jitsu. This is something that really cannot be overstated enough. The whole thing that I'm really excited about is we're going to get a lot of new people hearing about jiu-jitsu and coming to jiu-jitsu and hearing about it for the first time, and probably going to be watching Mark Zuckerberg display some jiu-jitsu on Elon Musk, because honestly, I think Zuck's probably got this thing in the bag. Guys, I'm a big fan of Elon Musk, and I would love it if he won, honestly. Like, that's what my heart wants. But my mind is saying Zuckerberg, because he already won some jiu-jitsu tournaments. There's footage of him competing and doing pretty well, which is kind of funny. Like, imagine if you're a white belt and you show up at your first tournament and you get your butt kicked by Mark Zuckerberg. If I had him as my match, I would really want to beat him. Like, I would really want to, just because I would feel like that would be really cool. But if I lost to him, that would also be kind of cool. It would also be kind of cool because, I would be a part of that story just in general, to have competed against Mark Zuckerberg. So if Zuckerberg's watching this, I'm down to have a match against you as well. Just let the record show, but I would probably win pretty easily. But anyway, so back to Elon versus Zuck. So I really think that Zuckerberg's got this one in the bag. The other reason is he's been training with the Dave Camarillo at Gorilla Jiu-Jitsu, and I've been hearing about these guys ever since I was a white belt. And these guys are the real deal. They're super legit. Dave Camarillo's got a book called Gorilla Jiu-Jitsu that I remember reading when I first got into jiu-jitsu training, and it was badass. I actually found it at a bookstore, and I tried to read as much as I could at this bookstore because I couldn't afford it at the time. And I tried to just like memorize a bunch of the techniques and then use them at training, or I'd look it up on YouTube. And he was one of the first guys that was actually posting stuff on social media and on YouTube, and he was producing books like back like 12 years ago. And yeah, Dave Camarillo, like he's a really, really good instructor. I've never met him. I want to go train with them. It's always been kind of on my bucket list of guys to train with, but yeah, I think that like that's a really great team, you know. So Zuckerberg's training with the right people. He's already won a competition. He looks like he's getting close to a blue belt. Training with Mikey Musumeci, you know, I saw a video of him training with Lex Friedman. Like he is getting it in, you know what I mean? Like he's training multiple times per week with the best people in the world. So he's doing it at a high level, and he can afford it, right? Like he can afford to fly private and pay for private lessons and do like he could fly literally from, you know, world champion to world champion and pay them to train him and train as often as he wants. So that's the level of lifestyle that this guy is at. And if he's as obsessed with jiu-jitsu as he is claiming to be, because from what I've heard on interviews with him, seems like he's just as into it as any of us are, which is dope. But what I'm saying is pretty damn sure that Elon, unless he is training like multiple times per day secretly for the last couple of months and hasn't told anyone or posted about it or anything, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Because, I mean, again, Zuckerberg's already got the competition experience. That's big. I just don't know. I mean, Elon, he's got a bit of a size advantage, but that doesn't really mean anything. So again, I've got Zuckerberg, but let me know what you think down in the comments. If you think that Zuckerberg's going to win, how's he going to win? Let us know. Since he's from Dave Camarillo's school, they do a lot of flying submissions, so I think it'd be really cool if he won with a flying triangle. So again, Zuckerberg, if you're watching this, want to have you on the show. I've been hitting you up a couple times. Would love to also have a match with you, and hope you win by flying triangle. Guys, the next thing that I wanted to talk about is just how crazy it is that two billionaires who are white belts in jiu-jitsu can just decide that they're going to have a match with each other, and suddenly it's on the UFC main event, Dana White's behind it, etc. You know, the whole world's talking about it. Like, I've been thinking about this, but that is a level of influence that few people in history have ever had. And that's crazy. You know, that's wild. And we're at a point in history where people like you and me can achieve that level of influence, can achieve that level of power. Because at the end of the day, Zuckerberg and Elon are dudes just like you and me. I've watched some of the interviews with both of them. They're really freaking smart guys. But I've met guys just as smart as them at jiu-jitsu. And honestly, I don't think that they are any better than you or I. All that they've done is they've put a lot of energy and a lot of attention and a lot of focus into one area of their lives. In Zuckerberg's case, he went all in on Facebook. On Elon's case, he went all in on PayPal, and then he leveraged that money to go and grow SpaceX, and he went all in on that. Like, these are guys that went all in on their life's purpose, and it paid off for them, and they won really big, and they hit the ball out of the park, and they didn't give up when times were hard, and yada, yada, yada. And I know they're controversial guys, especially Zuckerberg. A lot of people don't like him. Personally, I'm a bit indifferent. Like, I'll be honest with you, Elon's been pissing me off because his Starlink doesn't work as well as I had anticipated. So, Elon, if you're watching this, bro, let's talk, because I tweeted at you and you didn't reply when I reached out for Starlink support. But obviously, what I'm saying is neither of these guys are purpose. Obviously, I'm being a bit facetious here. But the same with Zuckerberg, with Elon. And also another thing is I've read Elon Musk's biography, and you should read it too. It's a fascinating book. But in it, the interviewer asks him if he thinks that he is a sort of outlier. And Elon says that he really believes that he's not an outlier, that he believes that he is, although he's really smart and he's obviously achieved a lot, that he's not some sort of like outlier being. And I think that a lot of the times these guys they're made up to be a bit of an outlier. And they are, obviously. They are outliers from the outside looking in, but to those guys, they don't necessarily see it that way, especially Elon, according to that one interview. But I guess what I'm saying is there's a really good quote in that biography where Elon says that he thinks that there's a lot of people who are just as smart as him, but they just went into other fields. Like they went and became lawyers or doctors, or they went and became entrepreneurs in some other space or something like that. But they just, for whatever reason, he believes that really the only reason he's gotten so much fame is because he's doing something that's novel. He's doing the rocket ship thing. He's doing the electric cars. Like he's doing something that's innovative. But his whole thing is that there's a lot of other people in other industries who are just as smart as him that people just don't ever hear about because they're lawyers, or they're a doctor, or they're an entrepreneur doing a less novel business or something, but no less intelligent, if that makes sense. So I think that we should look at people like this, and we should look at these moments in history and think that that's what I could achieve, or that's what is possible for a human being to achieve, where you can have that level of influence where you just decide that you're going to have some beef match with some rival of yours, just basically just for fun, really, at the end of the day. And suddenly it's the biggest event in the world, and it's the most talked event, on the internet, and Dana White's supporting it, and you're going to be fighting at the UFC main event and blah, blah, blah. Like, that's pretty freaking cool if you think about it, that level of influence is achievable for someone like you or I within our lifetime. So I would like us all to think about that and use this as something where we're not looking at this as like two billionaires just getting in the cage and doing something, but rather these are some of our fellow jiu-jitsu guys who are honestly no better than you or I, who have just executed a lot more on their businesses than probably you or I have. And we can achieve that same sort of thing as well. And that it's not something that's out of our reach. So that's what I've been stewing about and kind of thinking about related to this. And I thought I'd share because I have a podcast. Bilbo's down here. Bilbo, what do you think about Mark Zuckerberg versus Elon Musk? Bilbo? Anything for the cameras? No comment. All right. Well, I thought I heard a meow earlier, but we got nothing here, folks. Oh, now you're meowing. So write down below what you think about this and who you got winning this fight, and whether or not you're excited about this or whether or not you think it's kind of silly or what. So I'm excited about it, obviously. Bilbo, what do you think, buddy? Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we put out new videos very often. So make sure you watch those videos, like them, share them with a friend, etc., etc. Jiu-Jitsu Outlet out. Peace.